90% of the time, this is me, this is not universally, this is not published anywhere, 90% of the time, for me in my work, when there's a problem, a control failure, 90% of the time, it's a behavior problem. That the control environment might not have been perfect, but it was adequate. It was to the right of the midpoint in control environment. But the failure was in control behavior. So what's the message of that? No policy fixes that problem. Accountability, management, review, skills training fixes that problem. So what are we trying to get across to people in that training? What I call an objective number 4. How do we build? How do you and I and other managers build what I call a how do I know culture at key control points?
Try to hang this.
And this is, by the way, in our marketing of this program. This is the answer to the question, how do we plug the holes in the controls? And I have it as simple as a moment of how do I know? How do I know? Pause and reflection. Because that's the big question for everyone in a control environment, from bottom transaction level to top executive, CEO, governor, president. That is the big question. What is my role? What is our role? What is my role right here? And if 90% of the time in my work I found that the problem is in behavior, not exclusively, but far more than half the time the problem is in behavior, then what works is to preach and teach to employees at every level what they need to know to recruit them into the effort. Let me share something with you that I used in my work. It's such a simple little thing. If I have it on an index card, it's on the floor next to me, should have picked it up so I can hold it up in front. But this is on an index card, this big, a 3x5 index card. I have this in front of me. Kind of stop and put it in front of me when I'm talking to somebody, because it's my way to keep track of what's going on in this discussion. For example, am I telling them about a problem that control failed? Am I asking them about a problem? What could go wrong? Risk assessment. Am I asking them about solutions? How would you fix them? What do you think about when you sign? See, my view of this simple model I have in all of my interviews, it's in front of me on the screen when I do a virtual interview. It's there in my notes right here on my notepad. I put it right here when I'm talking to somebody in person. I need to keep track of what's going on here in the moment with this person.
Oh, Lord.
Auditing interview. What's going on right now? Because my goal, regardless of where the discussion starts, my goal is to finish in that top right quadrant, asking them about solutions. That's my moment to preach and teach. What do you think about? How do you know? That's my goal. And so I keep track during a half-hour interview, hour long, to move the conversation, to pivot the conversation to that top point. Because that is how I compensate for not being there in the moment when those two signatures are applied to the document, about what is going on in their head when they sign things. Asking about solutions.
And there you have it.
Should I tell them the solution?
I officially was able to hang up
John, you'd say we can really
my bell.